Yeah, don't do that.
All right, now we should be on air.
Just a moment.
Refreshing.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got ad, so.
Ad block.
I have ad block. I have ad block on.
That's weird. All right, but yeah, we're
Well.
live.
No, it's just that people are figuring out how to get around ad block again.
All right.
Yeah, the audio's good.
All righty. Back into the fire. All right. We shall begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. Welcome to the second review of the evening. We finally worked around our issues. And
Well, our technical issues. The issues with the game are still there.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get into that in a bit. So, the second game up here is Moero Chronicles, or Moe Chronicle. Like that seems to be the original Japanese name. Oddly, like they added the Oreo over here for whatever reason.
No, it's the same in Japanese. Moero Chronicle.
Okay, I'm looking at the English letters here. Like it says Moe Chronicle on the box art.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
Japanese is weird.
Yeah, it's not that important. Like though the name should give you an idea of what we're getting into. Because yeah, it's Super Moe Japanese uh, ichi game, like almost hentai, but not quite.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's still enough here that it earned like an R18 rating in Asia.
Mhm.
Not
But
surprised.
it was toned down for America.
I'm like, not surprising considering. Well, how do I approach this?
Do you want me to show them?
I'm like, if you want, but I'm like, in terms of descriptors, um, it's it's an otaku game.
Yeah.
So this is an RPG
Mm-hmm.
where you are a sort of generic RPG hero dude, I guess, and you have to tame and rehabilitate monster girls, and you do this in the way that you'd expect for an almost hentai game.
Yeah, yeah, you do. Well, okay. There's actually like two phases to this. There's the initial encounter, which I think Penny Fan is at.
Yep.
Like, so the like okay. The way you battle the monster girls, well, there's two ways. There's the normal way. You just wail on her, and if you win, she'll run away. But the proper way is to destroy her garments. Like each monster girl is going to have like a battle blouse or some shit like that you've got to destroy. Um, and there's going to be like 2-3 pieces, and you know once you basically strip them down to their bra and panties, they the otter thing basically climaxes in a shower of coins. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine, folks. And then the second phase occurs where, so this game was originally released on the Vita. The Vita has a touchscreen. Like, this was a touchscreen mini game where, well, you're like discharging the negative enemy from them by, well, sexual molestation. I'm just gonna call it what it is. You have to literally poke and prod their areas until they get excited enough, and then you do a frantic rub motion, and then they're purified. Uh, I'm like, oh, there's a lot to unpack with this. So, first of all, in terms of the PC release, this is the absolute worst part. Not just because of, well, it's morally repugnant and
It's just
you
also
know,
mechanically not very well implemented with how to do this without a touchscreen.
there we go. You know, it just doesn't work. Like, even if you're into this on a fetish level, you're gonna have a hard time because, well, first of all, doing the motions is gonna require two hands. Like, you have to use both analog sticks to simulate the various rubbing and massaging motions, and the X button. Now that I think about it, it's actually a lot. It's a lot more complicated and involved than, you know, just having a touch screen.
Yeah.
You know,
Uh-huh.
Petty fan said weekly.
Yeah.
I think this game might have broken his soul. You know, and you know, we have it here on the stream. I mean, we have the dog girl, and you know, look how she's presented. She's, you know, she's presenting like an animal of some sort.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Now, it's like
This is one of few games we've ever gotten that I'm glad we only got 2 codes for.
I'm like,
Can I give my code back?
oh, okay. So that's the recruitment phase. As you'd expect from a game of this nature, there's also what amounts to a romancing option. You know, they call it a friendship option, but you know, But you know, you go like there's an in function that'll open up after this, and you know, you go to their room, you talk, you give gifts, you do more rubbings. Like, you can do the free rub, and you can give the rub that costs pet points, I think they're called.
What
And
the fuck?
here's the thing, you know what? This shit doesn't faze me, because, quite frankly, you know, this is pretty typical of the Japanese underbelly, as it were. Like, not so much underworld, but the niche ichi stuff. It all looks like this.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like,
by the way, if you think the gameplay is similar to Etrian Odyssey, you would be correct, friend.
yeah. So the core gameplay here is Etrian Odyssey. Like, maybe not.
Dungeon crawling with
Yeah,
fights and whatever.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's a first-person dungeon crawler. It doesn't seem to be randomly generated from what I saw. Like, admittedly, I didn't get too far in this game because of that blasted mini game. Like I said, not only is it off-putting, it's broken mechanically.
Yeah.
I'll say it right now. It doesn't work. And it's important that you are able to do that properly, because that's how you recruit new party members. Like, and yeah, this shit gets more difficult as the game goes on. So, now the actual mechanics, like the battle mechanics, probably the most interesting part, at least to me, because not only do you have the like, you have the monster girls who do you know, the typical RPG things, but you have our male protagonist here, Io. He he in terms of the like the battle, he's an extra layer. Like,
He's essentially the girl's support.
yeah, it's like every round he'll get more and more. Well, for I'll call it what it is. He'll get more aroused, and I'm like, the girls can up that arousal. And what you're like, the more he gets aroused, and the more he releases his affections. And this isn't actually metaphorical. These are like actual emotions and not bodily fluids. Thank
Yeah,
God.
I actually hit release and hearts come out.
Right. And what this does, it powers up the girls' attacks or defenses. It powers them up to do more, damage or whatnot. And so the balancing act here is, if you let him go on for too long, especially over 100%, he will explode basically.
He will overload, yeah.
Yeah, he'll overload, and you won't get the bonus.
Yeah, they get basically it goes into what's called, I think they call it calm time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the cooldown period where you will not get, you won't get any bonuses or anything. And I'm willing to bet this is going to be, this is the kind of thing that's more intricate the more you go on. It's just, yeah, I did not, I put about 6-7 hours into this game, which is a little on the light side for an RPG, but between the creep factor and like I cannot emphasize just how broken that fucking mini game was. Plus the in terms of actual mechanics, oh god, it's pretty rote. Like, unfortunately, none of the Etrian Odyssey games are on the PC. So.
But the effort that could have been put into making a more interesting battle was put into the other stuff. I mean, some of that's technically part of the battle system, but
yeah. Well, actually, yeah. I was about to say, actually, the most interesting stuff is the convergence. Like when the erotic ichi mechanics are actually part of the gameplay. Outside of that, yeah, this is a perfectly functional, if generic, first-person dungeon crawler. Like, graphically, it's not much to look at. Even though it's a Vita title, like obviously the artwork is going to be the most detailed. Like, not so much the battle backgrounds, which look like a PlayStation 1 game. In fact, most of this game gives me a PlayStation 1 throwback vibe, but not in any good way. I really hope that nobody from Twitch is looking in right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah, and yeah, here's the things I were talking about. I'm just like,
pander, 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 pander.
yeah, I'm like, the music once again was there. Like,
yeah, I believe there is not a soundtrack option for this one.
Yeah. Like, oh, and Petty Fan, I believe you wanted to get into the specific quirks of the controls.
Do not try and play this with a PS4 controller. It doesn't recognize the D-pad. And oh my god, whoever thought that letting you be able to hit decline on a yes prompt and it will say no.
see, to me that sounds like stuff that I'm used to from like Nintendo games and stuff, and it also uses the Nintendo/Japanese confirm and cancel buttons by default. But I understand if you're not used to being able to cancel on a while the cursor is on a yes, that could be problematic.
Like most of the games I have, That's usually disabled for obvious reasons, because it's infuriating when you're trying to change your settings and you hit what should be the confirm button, or what used the confirm button being, and it's like, oh, let's not save this.
Right.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, this game for you Xbox 360 controller users, this game does the Japanese switcheroo. So a bit of history on this. Um, B button is accept, A button is decline, and that's the normal for Japan, stretching all the way back to like the PlayStation days. And over here, A button is usually accept, B button is decline. And I I will tell you what, that will fuck you up a lot more than you think it will if you keep it to default controls.
Yeah, the reason this
least-
started happening involves the change in controls from when there were just 2 buttons in a line to when there were 4 in a diamond.
Also, apparently, moving either of the analog sticks when you're in this mode, it'll bring up one of either the equipment menu or the regular pause menu.
Yeah, you move by the D-pad. Suffice it to say, the controls here aren't the best. Um, uh, though it being an RPG, it's not that much of a problem.
Yeah. It's not like it'd be, say, Kingdom Hearts, something like that, where if their controls are messed up, you're boned.
Mm-hmm. No, it's just gonna. It's more annoyance than anything else. Like, so let's see. Oh, what else to cover? Oh, right. Bonuses. Surprisingly thin for a game of this nature. There's not much in the way of bonus material. That's usually one of the hallmarks of otaku games. There's a lot of bonus features of one sort or another as an enticement. As it is, there is only the deluxe pack, which is the Monster Girls Gallery art book, 3 PC wallpapers and 3 phone wallpapers, and that'll set you back $6. Like I said, that's
At least that sounds cheap for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I was really surprised at this because
Usually those are like, what, $20, $30 extras?
something like that. I mean, granted, it's not physical, but that's kind of the graft of the otaku game. They're fucking expensive on the margins to make the money.
Mm-hmm.
Here there's no mountains of DLC. There's not even a soundtrack to buy, and I'm not sure if this was the same of the Vita version, but I guess that's good. And indeed, the game itself is fairly affordable.
And unlike some of the related games, that also means that it didn't come with a bunch of DLC that busts the game difficulty.
Yeah, I'm like, in terms of games we played that have come from Idea Factory, this is on the lower end of the scale. It's not the worst. It's not as bad as Mugen Souls or Trillion. But I wouldn't put it even above.
The rubbing mechanic is very, very off-putting.
Yeah, and very, very broken. I mean, the entire game's aesthetic is pretty. Yeah. You're either into this shit or you're not.
Yeah, if what I've showed on screen has not enticed you, don't even worry about picking this game up.
Yeah. I'm like, objectively speaking, it's a it's a mostly decent Etrian Odyssey clone. It's just the PC port has some control issues, both minor and major, that do drag it down a couple notches. Honestly, I wouldn't even put this above Mugen Soul Z in terms of playability. In terms of content, yeah, it's like Well, it's like a lot of Idea Factory games we've seen. That it's it's super moe art style. It's super creepy to us Westerners sexualization. You know, I'm you know there's a whole undercurrent here that would take way too long to explain. But like it basically boils down to Japan's repressive nature and sexuality manifesting in reaction to that, and also the internet. Like
Yeah.
there's a whole there's a whole fucking sociology um, paper in this kind of stuff.
Mm.
But we're not that kind of show. We just review games for a living.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, like,
Um,
I guess if you really are desperate for an Etrian Odyssey game on PC and can look past the rubbing mechanic, here you go. We found it for you.
Yeah, the Vita version is probably better, but if you have a Vita, you probably already knew about this game and whether you were interested in it or
This
not.
was probably one of the 3 games that came out in the Vita here in the West.
no, here's the thing. It never came out in the West.
Oh.
Like, yeah.
Is the Vita region locked? I forgot. I thought it was.
Vita is region free, but you have to hack it to put English patches in.
Ah.
Yeah. So this is the only, like, the Windows version is the only way to play it in English. So,
Fair enough.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, it's like, in real terms, I'd recommend Mugen Soul Z or Fairy Fencer F over this game.
Honestly, I'd go with Fairy Fencer over Mugen Souls any fucking day. Fairy Fencer is far less creepy.
Well, yeah, it's like Fairy Fencer F was by far the best game we've played out of the Idea Factory set.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, shockingly, we haven't played a Neptunia game yet.
Yeah,
You'll figure.
I kind of like the Neptunia games, but I have to play them short bursts or else I'd drive myself insane.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
I know Neptunia has an awful lot of lore for a game where you're just console girls, and then the main character is a console that never even ended up getting made.
It's weird.
Welcome to Japan.
Anyway, final rating 4 out of 10, below average. Like, there's better there's better RPGs, there's better dungeon crawlers.
There are probably better games where you capture monster girls to use as a team in battle, like find the freaking Moemon or Tohomon or something.
I would suggest
and you'll have like solid Pokemon mechanics.
Oh, on that note, I think that'll about do it for this installment. Okay, the week ahead. So where to start? MSP. So there was no MSP at the last second.
This week we should be having Zeppla Dean, but I haven't got an email back from her to confirm. So I might shoot her off another one tomorrow morning and make sure we're still on.
Probably a good idea. And hopefully, everything will go as planned. And hopefully Mac isn't going to have, like, Mac's working on one of the Starship Moonhawk things. I think the next motion comic is coming out here soon.
Mm-hmm.
Provided we have an episode, we'll hear a whole bunch more about it on Wednesday.
And shouldn't the other experiment be starting this week?
Possibly, but Mac was iffy on it. I'm like...
Yeah, wasn't it like if he has time?
Yeah. So...
I'll probably post something like the Discord, or will be on our YouTube or whatever.
I still don't know how Mac wants to do that.
Yeah.
So, because we are looking to bring in somebody new for that, and he wanted like less clutter for the political show.
Yeah.
And Ogre might not be able to make it, and there's still a bunch of things to figure out. It's just right now we've kind of been waiting for a hole to show up in Mac's schedule before proceeding. Anyway,
I'd actually like to be on that show, but I don't know if he wants me, so whatever.
I'm like, we'll have
It depends.
Yeah.
Right. It'll all depend on what he ends up deciding to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the option of rotating guests, especially
Uh-huh.
if people can't make it. So
Okay, so we got a Tuesday show this week as we welcome back Mikael Hivari of House Mark. We're going to be talking about Nex Machina and Matterfall, two recently released games from the company. And on Wednesday, August 30th, we'll be talking to Bradley Erickson of Bison Kings Game Studios. We'll be talking about their recent release, Deadly Edge. And yeah, we've got a fairly solid week ahead of us. So until Tuesday, I wish you good gaming.